let's take a tomato as a great example. There are natural substances, natural chemicals, like lycopene. Lycopene is a carotenoid. It helps to make the tomato red. It has lots and lots of healthful properties. It's a powerful antioxidant. I've studied lycopene in a laboratory, and it actually can help starve cancers by cutting off the blood supply. It can slow the shortening of telomeres to slow cellular aging, and it can actually protect our DNA from even sunlight and ultraviolet exposure. Lots of good things about it. Now, lycopene actually is naturally occurs in a tomato on a vine in a chemical form that our body doesn't absorb that well. So if you pick a tomato off the vine and you cut it up and you throw it into a salad, it might taste great. Just got some vitamin C in it. It's a great source of hydration and great flavors. Okay, especially if it's like a homegrown heirloom type of tomato. But you're not going to get you're not going to get as much lycopene. You're probably only going to get maybe 20% of the lycopene that's in there. But you want to, like for me, I want to get as much of the good stuff as I can. So here's what research has found. If you wanted to convert that chemical structure of lycopene into a form that you can absorb better, your body can avidly absorb, what you want to do is you want to heat the tomato like in a pan, and with the heat will change the chemical structure from a form your body doesn't absorb that well into a form that your body avidly absorbs, loves to absorb it. Now you go from 20% absorption to 80% absorption. You flipped it around completely, upended that equation completely. Now you're really absorbing it. Now, here's one additional thing though. How would you heat a tomato in a pan? You heat it in water or nothing? No, not really. You put a little bit of olive oil in it. And why is that? And it's because lycopene is a substance that we call fat-soluble. It's a lipid. It loves to dissolve into fats. So a little bit of olive oil in tomatoes on a pan, sauteed, so it's soft, change the chemical structure. Flavors are really great now. And you have that. Now when you eat that tomato sauce, sauteed in olive oil, the olive oil with the lycopene is carried into your body even more efficiently than if it were cooked in water. And so again, that's just one example of thousands of how oils with fat-soluble foods. By the way, if you didn't want to look at olive oil, here's another common snack in the United States anyways, kind of tearing a page book from Latin American cuisine. You have these tortilla chips, and then you wind up actually having a salsa and guacamole. The salsa is often sort of stewed down tomatoes, cooked down tomatoes, served room temperature or chilled. And then the guacamole is just avocado that's been smashed up. Now, avocado has a lot of healthy fats in it. It's a fat-soluble veggie. It's actually quite nutritious. Remarkably, people eating avocado actually shrink their waistline because actually, even though they're eating fat, it actually it burns down harmful fat. It's a whole other story that we had. But if you have guacamole, avocado with tomatoes, you get more lycopene. And so that happens to be kind of a popular snack in the United States. Black pepper, so this is an interesting thing. Most of us have heard that turmeric, which is a kind of a root, when you cut it open, it's this bright, beautiful, bright orange, a lovely color. And turmeric is also a dried spice used in Southeast Asian cuisine, including Indian cuisine, is where I first became acquainted with it. It not only makes food beautiful, it actually makes food delicious. It's got quite a lovely taste to it. It's a spice. Inside turmeric is curcumin. Curcumin is one of those natural chemicals, kind of like lycopene. It's one of those Mother Nature's treasure chest, Mother Nature's pharmacy with an F, not a PH. And the curcumin has a lot of properties: anti-inflammatory, it's antioxidant, it cuts off the blood supply, feeding cancers. It actually is helpful for your stem cells as well. It really activates almost all of your body's health defenses, and it's good for your gut microbiome. So why not just enjoy turmeric as a spice by itself? Because it's so potent that our body actually doesn't absorb everything that it could. In fact, our body kind of gets, a lot of it gets flushed out, at the tail end. And so what we want to do to improve our body's extraction of the good stuff, the turmeric, it turns out that if you have fresh cracked black pepper, All right. There's a substance in fresh cracked black pepper called piperine.
Yeah.
Piperine is one of Mother Nature's, again, these remarkable chemicals that actually influences the body. And piperine helps the body hang on to the curcumin. So if you have fresh cracked black pepper with your turmeric, you're actually creating a 1-2 punch that allows you to absorb more of the curcumin. This is kind of where we need to go with this topic. So look, tea, green tea, especially, has a natural polyphenol that's called catechins, EGCG, epigallocatechin gallate, EGCG, and the catechin is actually just part of the natural substance in the tea leaf. So whether you're brewing tea with a bag, or whether it's loose leaf tea, or whether it's matcha, which is just powdered tea leaves, the fact of the matter is that into the brew, into the liquid, the hot liquid, comes all these phytochemicals, including these catechins. So when you sip straight tea, the catechins go right in. They're easily absorbed by your body. And so, our blood levels of catechins go way up. So many things that catechins can do. One of the things that's important is actually it's a relaxant. It actually helps lower your stress. It lowers the catecholamines. And so other things, that helps your lipids. It actually also helps fight cancer. It's anti-inflammatory, kind of like curcumin. It's a substance that has so many beneficial things that, at least when I drink tea, I want to get as much as I can out of my food. All right. Now, I deeply respect traditions of eating and drinking. And one of the things that, I know is a tradition in England is, or in Ireland, you actually put some milk or cream into your tea. It actually changes the flavor profile, and it's lovely. I've had plenty of teas in England before, and I find it to be just such an incredibly nice. I feel great, sort of like having an English tea. Put dairy in it. Here's what you need to know. Dairy, and I'm talking about cow dairy, right? So not nut milk. This applies to cow dairy. We'll come back to the nut milk in a second. Cow dairy, okay, actually is fat. Milk has got fat in it, like butter, which is made out of milk. And the fat, when you put it into your tea, does change its flavor, but that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about the fact that when milk or cream is put into tea, the fat molecules in the cow dairy form little soap bubbles. These are microscopic soap bubbles. They're called micelles. Fat likes to stick with fat. And so tea is mostly water. And so when you pour milk into tea, the bubbles, the dairy fat sticks together and makes a little tiny soap bubble. And what does it do? Those soap bubbles trap the polyphenols from tea. It traps the catechin. So you've got some good stuff wrapped in the soap bubble of dairy. And now when you drink the tea, the catechin is trapped in the soap bubble. It doesn't get absorbed as easily in your stomach, and it just rolls down your gut, and a lot of it comes out the other end. Okay. And so you're missing out on a lot of the good stuff. You get a great, you get a nice flavor. And so what I'm telling you is that if you're drinking milk, or cow milk, dairy, put it in your tea, you're getting good flavor if that's what you like, but you're missing out on as most of the polyphenols. So just be aware that that's what you're actually doing. Now, if you want to actually still cut the tea with something that is milk-like, nut milks are fine because they don't actually have the same fatty reaction that the cow dairy has. So almond milk, cashew milk, those soy milks, they're all fine. I discovered there is something called milk tea, and it's actually from Taiwan. It's grown in the mountain, and it's just pure tea leaves that when you brew it, it tastes like it's got dairy in it.
Oh, wow.
It's quite amazing. I mean, if I made a cup of that for you and then made a cup of English tea with milk in it, you would have a hard time telling the difference. It's quite remarkable. Milk tea. It's I think it's an oolong style tea. So it's mildly fermented and still got green properties. It's got polyphenols in it, but it has to do with the way, the climate, the way that it's naturally grown and the type of tea it is. So, all right, so let's move that aside for a second. All right, well, so what about supplements? I think that we should look to the word itself. A dietary supplement means something to top off. So I always tell people, if you have a choice of getting it from the whole food, the whole food will tend to have a lot of other stuff that's good for you. If you eat whole plant-based foods, for example, you get the fiber, you get the polyphenols, you get a lot of other chemical substances, you get the natural peptides that are found in foods. That if you got a pure supplement, you might get the one molecule or two molecules that it's been created for, like a vitamin C supplement. If you want to top off your vitamin C, it's pure vitamin C. You're going to get a lot of it if you take a vitamin. But if you had citrus, you're going to get all that flavor. You're going to get a different kind of flavor. You get some. You do get sugar. You get fiber. You get the limonene and all these other hesperidin, all these other bioactives that you can't get from a regular supplement alone. That said, you are absolutely right. Supplements can be really important, particularly for people who have difficulty getting a lot of some nutrients or their food. So for example, I think omega-3 fatty acids are a great supplement if you get a high quality omega-3. Not everybody eats oily fish, day in, 2 to 3 times a week. You only need to eat the amount in each serving with the size of a deck of playing cards. So you don't need to eat very much. But, that's not something most people do. People who live on the coastline, they might be doing it, but many people don't. So omega-3s are so important to our health. I mean, this has been shown time and time and again. That's a supplement that's definitely worth taking, and it's a lot easier to swallow omega-3s than it is actually to go to your fishmonger and then to look at what the catch of the day is. That's an example. Another example of a supplement I think is really worth taking is probably vitamin D3. Okay. Vitamin D, for those of us who live in the northern hemisphere where we don't have as much sun all the time, all year round, and where it's cold, so we're indoors a lot and not always outdoors under the sunshine. So I'm not talking Costa del Sol. I'm not talking about South Africa, or Australia. I'm talking about, England, Northern Europe, North America, and sort of the northeastern side. Okay. We don't get as much sunlight. And even if we do go outside, because it's cold, we wear a lot of clothes. And so our skin tends to be covered up. And so vitamin D is made by our skin when sunlight actually hits it. And so we tend to be vitamin D deficient. So here's an example of where you can eat foods like mushrooms that can have vitamin D, for example. By the way, I don't know if this is a little tidbit for you. I just told you that human skin with ultraviolet radiation from the sun will make more vitamin D. But did you know that if you took just a plain old lowly white button mushroom that contains some vitamin D, if you were to, before you eat it, when you buy it, if you slice it pretty thinly, and you lay the slices out and you put it in your windowsill, so the sun shines on the slice, it will make more vitamin D.
Wow.
You actually convert more vitamin D into the mushroom. So if you're going to prepare something with mushrooms, slice them ahead of time. Stick them in front of a sunny window, no matter what time of the year it is, maybe a couple hours before you cook with it, and the mushrooms will actually give you more vitamin D. But it's a lot easier to get your regular dose of daily vitamin D by actually just having D3 supplements. And so that's an example.
Hey, if you like that video, then you're going to love this one. Check it out.